It's a semifinal edition of AZ Audibles on Sports 360 AZ. We have Eric Sorensen, Jordan Ham. I'm Jared Cohen. We'll get started with 6A. Big matchups, as it always is this time of year. Let's start with Chandler going up against Perry. Perry coming off of that emotional win over Hamilton in overtime. And Chandler, they just keep dismantling teams in pursuit of getting back to a state title.
The last time I saw the Wolves, they were getting run clocked in Ahwatukee against Mountain Point. After that game, head coach Sean Aguano really sort of shifted his attention to the defense, and you can definitely see that paying off. The one thing I've also noticed is in all these games, they're starting fast and they're finishing strong. They're coming out of the locker room and dominating on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, no question. They have been really on a furious pace right now, just blowing out teams. They played really, really well against a good Desert Vista team.
Yep.
Desert Vista was out of the game in the first quarter. They didn't know what hit them. Looking at Red Mountain against Mountain Point. Now, this is a Red Mountain team I saw early in the season. They were coming off a really close loss to Hamilton. They suffered a couple close losses earlier in the year to a couple Chandler opponents. But what I noticed, we've talked about Lance Lawson and we've talked about their offense, Austin Duffy. They've got a lot of weapons, but their defense is fast and they're also very disciplined. And I think the play of their defense through the first two rounds of the tournament is a large reason to why they are where they are right now. Sure, offense helps and playmakers help, and it has helped, but the defense, the way they have stepped up throughout the season, their speed, their discipline has been huge here going into this Mountain Point game, which is going to be a very, very difficult task. To 5A now, guys, and there are some big-time matchups. Four very good teams. Cienega going to be in Tucson going up against Centennial, and then a big rivalry rematch between Queen Creek and Williamsfield. Eric, let's start with you. You were with Centennial in their big win over Desert Edge last week.
Yeah, and the thing that strikes me about the Centennial team, they remind me a lot of Stanford. They're very well coached with Richard Taylor. Their offense isn't real tricky. They're just going to do what they do, and until you stop them, they're going to continue to run the football. Special teams, offense, defense, just a very well-rounded group, and it'll be interesting. They're playing Cienega, the top seed, very athletic team. See how that good defense does against an elite offense.
And Jordan, switching to Queen Creek against Williamsfield, it's one of the biggest rivalries that's grown in this state because of the games they've had this time of year.
Yeah, and Williamsfield seems to be playing their best football right now. So balanced on offense. That defense is also just so good, led by Trey Bugg. He's just a ball hawk in that secondary. And then if you get on the right side of the 50, it's basically guaranteed 3 points because of how good Brandon Ruiz has been over the past few months.
4A guys, and you know, we keep kind of putting off talking about Saguaro because we kind of anticipated them being here this time of year. But let's talk about what's made this team so good. And offense, talent, and offensive line has been a strong focus over the last few years. But I think what separates this team this year is the play on their defense. When you look at Donovan Dalton, Sean Seawards, you look at Josiah Bradley, Gio Miranda, there is so much talent. Of course, KJ Jarrell and Brant Casey, the two leaders on the defense. So much talent, and there's been a buy-in. You know, it's one thing to have on defense a lot of great athletes, but you need to have a buy-in on your schemes and your mentalities, and this defense has more than locked that in. So they are looking great, but it's because defense, and I think defense could be the reason they could win a championship in 4A.
And then on the other side of the bracket, you have Higley, who has had a great year so far, and Drayson Hall has just been an absolute monster for them. The running back position, his past two games, the two playoff games, 322 all-purpose yards and then 312 all-purpose yards. 6 touchdowns over those 2 games. So they'll need him throughout the rest of the playoffs to continue to produce like that, but he's just been somebody they can really rely on.
And they're going up against Catalina Foothills. Also, we've talked about it. Higley, the reason why I think they're taking that next step this year is because of their play on defense as well. Let's go to 3A, guys. Hey, the lowest seed left in this bracket, it's a very balanced bracket, but the lowest seed left is Northwest Christian, but they're definitely not playing like the lowest seed right now, Eric.
Yeah, head coach David Ennis, he's no stranger this time of year. He's got a handful of state championships, and he's going to rely on Caleb Eggerman, senior running back. He's got 1,200 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns, and don't sleep on their defense. They haven't given up more than 21 points in a game all year.
That's Eric. That's Jordan. I'm Jared. The state championship is on the line.